Okay,
Yes.
now we can start.
Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session of the Bharat Innovates 2026 webinar series. I am Vatsala Khare, lead of mentorship program at SIIC IIT Kanpur, your host for today. And I'm delighted to welcome all founders, innovators, researchers, and partners joining us here on Zoom, as well as who will watch us from the official SIIC IIT Kanpur YouTube channel. Today, we are here to explore a very important topic for defense and dual use technology innovators: how to pitch defense products. India's defense ecosystem is expanding rapidly with initiatives like IDEX, Make One, Make Two, and an increasing push towards indigenous innovation. Yet, one of the biggest challenges that startups face is understanding how to communicate the value effectively to defense users, evaluation bodies, and procurement agencies. We are truly honored to have with us Sri Saurabh Kumar, one of the most respected leaders in the India's defense manufacturing ecosystem. Sir has served in the Indian ordnance factories for more than 37 years, contributing across a wide range of leadership roles. His journey spans heading major manufacturing units to serving the corporate level as member ammunition and explosives, and ultimately as the chairman of the Ordnance Factory Board. A specialist in the manufacturing of artillery guns, he led the Ammunition and Explosives Division of OFB, where he spearheaded a major transformation initiative introducing process automation, real time monitoring, and data analytics across 11 factories to enhance quality and performance. As chairman, he led an organization of 41 factories producing a vast range of defense products for the Indian Armed Forces and the Central Armed Police Forces. His leadership placed strong emphasis on business development, customer relationships, and driving organizational transformation. Today, he continues to mentor defense and deep tech startups, guiding them on product readiness, operational relevance, user trials, and navigating procurement pathways. His insights into what defense users actually look for, how to position technologies for operational relevance, and what makes a strong, credible pitch make him the perfect speaker for today's session. So, before we begin, a quick note for all the joinees here. Please feel free to drop your questions in the chat box at any time. We will take up during the question and answer segment towards the end. In case if anyone wants to interact with the speaker while the session is going on, you have a specific question, please raise your hand. We will try to unmute you and let you have a dialogue with our speaker. With that, it is my privilege to invite Sri Saurabh Kumar to begin today's discussion. Sir, over to you.
Good morning, Vatsala,
Morning, sir.
and your team and all the participants, entrepreneurs, startup founders who are meeting me today on this interaction program. It's a nice experience for me also, and thanks Vatsala also for giving a very, I'll say, fantastic introduction of me. Well, there's the topic I have got is how to pitch defense product to the Indian military customer. And one thing more, Vatsala, I can't see them. I have to see your face only. Can I see them also?
So you can just see me because this is a session with so many participants, so it would become chaotic if you can see them.
Scattered all over. Okay. You see, I hope you all must have had the experience of interaction with the Indian Armed Forces at some level or the other. Some may be having less experience, some might be having more experience. But there are certain things which the makes armed forces as a very different type of customer as compared to other commercial customers. And that is a very important feature which you must understand, appreciate, and never forget. First is that defense is not a routine business like any other business. In armed forces, they don't expect a product to fail, because the cost of a product failure is very catastrophic. It can lead to loss of human lives. It can lead to some setback in the particular operations, some difficulties faced. Therefore, they are very, very cautious when they choose a product, or when they take anything, accept anything new. MOD has opened up defense for the private sector with lot of hopes and ambitions, and rightly so, with the country developing so much of technological strength. We must leverage this strength for the defense of the nation, and more so in the context of you see that today the geopolitical condition in the world, where it's difficult to identify who is your friend and who is your foe. So the age-old concept of self-reliance in defense is still the golden standard, and we must rely only on that, and to make how our country completely self-reliant, and not only self-reliant, it's a very defensive way. I'll say a global leader in defense technology, so that it gives us a stature among the nations, as well as earns money for the country. Now, I hope you have heard the statement of, you have gone through the statement by General Anil Chauhan recently about the CDS, Chief of Defense Staff. He made a statement which read in the newspaper, and I'm reading it now. He urged India's private defense industry to balance profit with nationalism and patriotism. He also warned against practices that undermine national security, delayed deliveries, inflated costs, and false claims of indigenous content. I see it as a bit of disappointment from the armed forces for their experience with the private sector, but still, it also conveys what they look for in the private sector when they expect to come. So the first thing is that the profitability, etc., should be not the prime consideration. Prime consideration is reliability of the product. So once we see the defense or the armed forces as a customer, it is not a body. Actually, armed forces, to sell anything to Ministry of Defense, to armed or to the armed forces, if you have gone through, I'm sure you would have gone through that defense procurement procedure. It looks to be a very complex document, but it will tell you one thing, that it is a very armed forces as a customer, or it's a system which operates, and not as a individual. And you have to work through that system to ultimately sell your product. In defense, there is a end user. End user are the specific forces, or to be more precise, the soldiers, sailor, or the airmen. There are technical evaluators, the DGQA, DGAQA, and other organizations. They have their own role. Acquisition authorities, which are mostly in the MOD, but at the very senior level of the armed forces, they are there. And of course, finance and audit agencies. Now, each looks at your proposal, at your product, with a very different eye, and you have to satisfy all the four. The soldier is the person who asks, will it work for me? The evaluator will say how it will fail, how can it will fail, how safe it is. Acquisition authority will be always be worried whether the company is sustainable in the long run, or how long the product support will I get. So be very clear that once you are pitching your product, don't pitch it for one person. Keep the concerns of different stakeholders of the acquisition process in mind. The core requirement, with which everybody is concerned about, and that is the reliability of the product. Although it is said many times it has to be reliable, but the reliability, the definition of reliability or the concept of reliability is a very different when it's a military product. You see, in my car, if something goes wrong, I can get it repaired even if it's on a highway. I may get delayed or anything. If it doesn't function, it will not have such a catastrophic consequences. But a military equipment, however small it may be, it has got a role in battlefield scenario, war fighting. And if it fails, it has got very severe consequences. It can create problems in the operations and in battlefield scenarios. You have seen some of the war movies. There is no time to think. People go through the motions and take a decision in a split second. So if anything is not working, then it becomes a real problem, a question of life and death. And working means that your system will be or your product will be used in extreme heat conditions, in extreme cold conditions, in very humid conditions. There may be altitude, etc. Or it may be at times may be used by a person who is not very well familiar with it. Or it may be you be ready for that, that even if it is not very well maintained. If it's not very well maintained, if there are some even some sluggishness in maintenance also, then also it's supposed to work. So the reliability and ruggedness are the one of the most important features of any defense product, and this is what always the armed forces will be evaluating, and the people who are actually going to use will be evaluated. So armed forces, my experience is they prefer a rugged system, a reliable system if they are more convinced while evaluating other things, any other thing of the three products, if they are evaluating, they will be more impressed by the how reliable and rugged the system is rather than the self-proclaimed technical superiority of it. If it's a very superior product, okay, it gives you much better performance. But if it is likely to fail in real conditions, then it doesn't matter much for the armed forces. So that is the first thing, that once you uh, start selling to the armed forces, this is the basic psyche of the customer. This you must not forget. Now, how to pitch the product? You see, you are offering a solution to a customer. So always start with keeping the customer's problem in mind rather than overemphasizing your own technical specifications. You are saying, I have developed a sensor based product for this applications, and this is the specification of the sensor. People may not appreciate. Some of them, I can tell you very frankly, will not understand, especially if you are dealing at a bit lower level of this, not the soldiers, but even otherwise. The hardcore infantrymen may not understand what is a solid state features of your sensing device. But so talk of the convey your ideas in the language which he understands. If you are saying it's a AI based solution, not expected to cut much ice. But if you are saying that, okay, my system offers you a better reliability, less downtime, all this, and it can improve that, then it will be a better way of saying things. So always try to address the specific problems which the customer is having, how your system is going to address to that, rather than pitching your own technical specifications. Second thing is that you see, many times you may find that the present system available with the armed forces may not be so tech savvy or modern or something. Don't try to look down upon them. After all, he is fighting the battle with those systems only. And you understand that he has to graduate from that particular equipment to your particular equipment. That will be a challenge for you, not for him. How you are able to train them because this will be always a mental block with him, that whether I'll be able to use this system or whether I'll be able to maintain. His officers will be also be thinking that. So it's a challenge for you as a startup to convince people that okay, your system is easy enough to handle, easy enough to operate, so that a person with moderate qualification also can be can able is able to handle them. Don't try to pitch something that it's a very very superior thing, it's a revolution and all that. Such marketing type of words hardly impress. It's better to say that okay, it is half a generation superior than the previous product, and this is likely to help you in that. If you are talking, talk with proof. What are the type of testings you have carried out in your in-house testing? Whether it is about reliability, whether it is of performance. You must discuss very frankly about the failures that you have faced in the startup, in the while you are doing the testing, etc. And that record actually helps them in evaluating the product. Rather, don't hide your that or do you say that don't express that in a very uh, in a manner that that gives an impression that you, as a developer, you did not face much problem or such problems like that. So talk about failures, talk about redesign, talk about openness to suggestions and all those things. Always discuss failure modes. In what conditions this product can fail once you are offering them, and address the production reality, because one of the question people will ask that okay, if it is very good, how fast, how much you can deliver to them. Otherwise that will be that will not be a thing which will be a negative thing, but you must give a realistic figure that what you can produce right from the beginning, because the failed delivery schedule which CDS is saying is mostly related to that. People give a very optimistic projection about their production capabilities and feel that they will be able to back the orders based on that. But in reality, words don't produce anything. And if there is a slippage in delivery schedules, it puts it's one of the biggest thing which puts the customer off, promising 50 and delivering 20. So that you must be very, very clear about your actual capability and what can be done on that. Okay. Now, another point was aligning with defense procurement pathways. Now, if you see the defense procurement procedure, it's a pretty complex thing and there are various stages. But the best way to handle that is you understand your own capability and what type of things you are going to offer. Most of the startups are not going to offer a very mature product, I understand, or something which is a big system. So, which is there in the main acquisition. So, it is make one, it is buy a system may not be applicable for you, but the make procedures you can very well see whether it will fall into the category of make one or make two or IDEX, that the innovation thing, particular thing, or if the customer is DRDO, because they are taking up many big programs and they are looking for people who can support them for solving a particular problem. So it could be a DRDO, it could be a big defense public sector undertaking. They are also having their own programs. So in that case, DRDO will have its own procurement procedures, in own, you can say, the methods of testing and all that. So be very clear who is the customer you are going to take up in the Ministry of Defense. And armed forces are mostly startups they are taking through the IDEX route or indigenization by their depots and workshops. That's also a route, whether you are falling into that. So you identify what type of approach, what type of route you are going to take based on your product, and then you have to approach that particular problem in the sense that what are the QRs. Each of them will have a different QR. Each of them will have different questions. and you have to satisfy their points by, for example, a DRDO team may be asking a very different type of questions from you as compared to a base workshop, or even as compared to a DPSU, because the complexity of the problem is also different. So you have to that's the thing you have to keep in mind, that every organization has a different type of procurement procedure. And if you are going to the main Ministry of Defense, then of course you have to go, or the armed forces, then you have to go through the DPM, following the right thing. And one of the main thing is that indigenization claims. That is, I understand now there is a special procedure introduced, that they are screening for the whether the Chinese components are there in the system or not, or they are coming through the imported through the third countries. But that is a very, very important thing, and that you must not ignore. That indigenization claim is there or not. So I will say in a summary that you match your product with the procurement routes which are given in the defense procurement procedure, whether it is IDX or QRs. If there are the QRs given, you can engage with the service headquarters for the QRs, and follow the exact right strategy for that. That's the way I will say is the approach to at this stage to choose the right path with the right customer. Now, the fourth is communicating technical depth without overcomplicating. Now, it's a real challenge, because most of the time we are as a scientist, we talk in a language which many people find it difficult to understand, and many people don't expect that the service headquarters, they are people who are uh, having the same technical qualification or experience than you. They are basically the users. And ultimately, at the end of the day, they see your problem, they see everything as something which is a route to solve their problem. So, are you addressing their problem, or are you demonstrating your own technical capability? That's a very, very important point. You have to address his problem, not you have to demonstrate your technical capability. If you want to sell a good car to even a driver who is driving, his question is ki, can I drive 500 kilometers without any problems? He will not listen whether you have got this type of engine, this type of oil, or this type of sensor, and this type of thing to prevent accident. So that is very, very particular thing, that a soldier who is at the border, suppose, and in the surveillance role, his job, his question is whether I can detect an intruder at say 1 o'clock at night, or if it's a very foggy weather or something, it is raining. How can I detect it? That is his problem statement. Don't try to pitch it that it's a AI-based solution which can do this. We have used this sensor specifications, and that's all. It is not going to impress him, because whatever we claim as a technical technologist, that is going to check and test and evaluate during the evaluation process. So right from the beginning, try to understand his real concerns and talk in the language which he understands. You can explain your technical things, but the keywords have to be addressing his particular problems. So if he is talking of that, then better to, instead of talking about your surveillance equipment, the technical capability, you can say, yes, it can identify the breaches, it can identify these breaches in the you can say dark night conditions. With this level of illumination also, it will be able to do that. Instead of, the point I'm saying is that instead of overburdening him with the technical details, try to convey to him that how this technology is going to address his problem, so that he feels that his problem is understood by the developer, because that gap should not be there, that the developer is saying something and he's not able to understand. The perception he may have is that आपको तो मालूम नहीं है what is my problem, where the shoe is pinching me. So you must be able to explain very clearly the military context and aspect of a problem. He will expect that, okay, if it is not properly treated, if it falls down, if it is mishandled during transportation, if the packing gets open, whether it's going to work or not. So the product, you have to emphasize that how practical it is, how rugged it is, how reliable it is, and how you are building those particular features in this. He will give far more marks to those features rather than 2% improvement in performance. So the emphasis should be on showing empathy for his particular specific problems, and it should not be a lip service rather than pointing a technical solution to that his particular problem. And I can say with my experience that although we may try to underestimate his what a particular person is saying because of his language, or is not so sophisticated about the technical particular thing, how it is going to be solved, but still it carries a lot of weight, and ultimately he is the decision maker, because users trial जो लोग कर रहे हैं, if they are not convinced about your product, then our whatever you offer to them will not satisfy them. You may have done something to get 90% marks, but you may get 70% marks. तो वो चीज वही बात है. They will always see if I use suppose a superior technology for surveillance, but it takes 5 seconds more for me to give results. Which one I will prefer? Because the other person is also having a rifle, I'm also having a rifle. If he comes with a system which is not so sophisticated, but he looks at me 3 seconds earlier, who is going to survive? Because I'm not going to see him when he's 2 kilometers away.
Yeah.
He will be when he is also equipped with those systems, a night vision device, and if he can locate me 4 seconds earlier at 400 meters, who is a better chance of survival? You think that point of view. Second, if you've seen that we had been, after this Operation Sindoor, we had been searching the terrorist for more than a month and we could not locate. In this type of environment, what matters? The important thing is that in such a rugged type of thing, a very mishandling, people are running, it is falling, it is mishandled, misused, but still it is working. So these are the things which are far better, far more youthful, and these are the things which are tested. As I mentioned earlier, it is the reliability of the product. Performance may be 5%, or you may, in a lighter vein, I am saying it's a say in a test team, if you have to select a batsman, which one you will present, which a batsman which is having a better consistent results rather than who's having a much more sigma value. People may prefer somebody who scores 40 to 50 runs with much more confidence rather than who can score 80 but who can score 20 also. In match it is allowed, but a certain level of performance is always better. So the point is, please understand the key points which are the concerns for the customer. So the low detection time is a better concern for it. Or if it is a range, if your range is 100 meters extra, even if it is not very clear, he will be able to judge because he has have a long experience. He is having other things. He's able to listen. He's having other information systems. So if he is not able to see very clearly, but if he is able to make a sense of what is coming even 100 meters more than the other party, he will prefer that. So this is the way to first understand him and then try to convey it in the language which is addressing his real concern rather than telling about our own system that this has got this feature, this feature, this feature, which doesn't make any, I'll not say any, but people are always skeptical when such claims are made, because they will always say, okay, it's very good, let us see how it performs in the real field. Now, related to this is how you build the trust. Now, it is the core of the pitching, which I may say, how you build the trust, and it starts from the when you convey in writing and when you meet. I can say be transparent. This is the first thing. What your product can do, how much it has been developed, what is left for further development, how much you have tested it, what the results you got in testing, where you had to go back in development process, and what are the problems did you face in the development process to come up to here. Better uh, it is to share everything in that rather than hiding it for or giving a very rosy picture that we did it very smoothly. It rarely happens in life. Second is how the user is going to maintain it. It is a thing which usually it is neglected when when the startups are mentioning is how it's going to be maintained. And you must also understand that the person or the where it is actually being maintained in the field, it's not a full-fledged established lab that they are going to use it. So that is the way you design. And I can say from my personal experience that the Russians were far ahead in designing such type of system, uh, whether they are tanks or whether they are artillery guns or anything. It's a, matlab, it's a genius. I can tell you that if a mechanical system or something which fails, how it can fail, your strength lies in that even if there is a little bit of failure, it keeps on performing. It is designed with so much of redundancy. And even if it fails, then it can be repaired with minimum of tools and equipment and minimum training. So these are inbuilt in design, and these are very complex design problems. It looks very simple, but these are very complex design problems. So these things, if you are trying conveying to them, if you can say to them, that is a much better thing. You can also be very transparent in sharing the capability of your team, different type of people who are with you, the group, even the mentors, if you are having some retired service officers who are guiding your project, that may be an added plus point because you will be able to check that. Next is that you are aware about the different standards which the militaries used in the world or the Indian armed forces they used. And you have gone through them and you have tested your product accordingly, got them tested at any other lab or any other place in the country, and go with those results, because that is very, very important. Nothing should come as a surprise to you. And operational constraint is, of course, if you are having a service officer with you, he can help you or with other interaction. But it is not easy to understand the operational constraint or the operational environment in few small discussions. Best is the person who are using it, utilize that opportunity as much as possible and mention to them, this is what I have thought will be the operational scenario, and this will be used like that. If they mention something old, try to add that also in your design, how you will handle that. But if you are transparent, open to their ideas, I think that will be generating much more trust rather than take it as a marketing exercise or something that many times it happens that people start over pitching their products uh, without doing something great about it. I'll say the mistakes that people make is you starting that mistakes are that a mistake can start even with the very basic thing like what's the market size. When we are going into a business as a manufacturer, we naturally tend to overestimate that and make our projections accordingly. That has to be very, very clear. Second thing and most important thing is one of the most important thing is how much ready you are to field the product. It is actually we are many times over claiming it. That may happen because we have not gone through their specifications. We have not gone through thoroughly their testing procedures. Because once we say yes, then they will say, okay, we show me the results of these testings, this particular aspect has been seen or not. So please don't over project your capabilities when you are projecting to the armed forces, especially with the readiness that okay, we will do it in 3 months, 6 months, or 4 months if it is not that. Third is that user trials. Now, trials are a very serious exercise. It's not the time you spend marketing your product. It's the time you spend understanding the operational scenario, operational constraints, the psyche of the user, and how you can satisfy him. So don't waste that time in marketing your own product, feeling that okay, I've spoken to this person, and I've been always appreciated, highlighting about the product's feature. They will, they're very mature people, and they will judge it themselves, and they have got their own yardsticks to judge, which I have told you earlier. So don't treat it as a marketing exercise rather than an opportunity to understand the customer at the ground level. Please don't ignore the documentation aspect. This is a very major point which mostly I have seen with the Indian companies when they come. The documentation level is very, very inadequate at times. Most of the time, we have been working without preparing proper documentation, and preparing proper documentation for the armed forces is a very difficult task. The companies who have a lot of experience, they can do it. Those who have not, they will have to really sweat hard to understand. And I can tell you with my experience that once you go for the user trials, you see what type of documents their equipment, their previous OEMs have given to them. That will be a good exercise or lesson for you. And that time you should spend understanding his psyche rather than trying to sell our own product. Because our product, he will in any case come to know by how it is performing. Please don't misuse Make in India narrative, because we have seen the CDS has it appeared that this has problem has been there with even with major companies. Make in India के नाम पे people have given claimed over claimed 70% indigenization and all that, which later it was found it is not there. So the reaction will be very bad, very bad. And if you are dealing with defense, please know one thing, that a bad reputation is worst stigma which you can have. So if you have not achieved, mention it that way rather than trying to hide it under a particular thing. Timelines are very, very important. So commit to the timelines that you give. Commit to the timelines. Usually in the development process, nobody is going to penalize you much. Nobody will normally say if you can't do it in 3 months, get lost. It never happens. But stick to the timelines rather than going with the incomplete work, incomplete documentation, and uh, ultimately failing with things. And don't aim for big things right from beginning. Mostly it is the big companies, of course, they are able to deliver big systems, but startups understand what is your financial strength, what is your technical strength, and proceed accordingly. It's a very large field. You will get enough time to prove your worth, but it's a slow process also. So don't become impatient on that. It's a game of patience also. So, that is very, very important that one must not forget about that. In summary, I will say that the most important thing is that the armed forces who are there to protect our national integrity and sovereignty, they cannot compromise on anything, and we should try to give them whatever we are going to do. So, first thing, try to earn their trust and give them a reliable, rugged product. Let them, because it's as a startups, it's a new thing. It's a we are you can say it's a import substitution in most cases, or something we are going to develop. And going by the now what has happened in 1 year, geopolitical situation, we do not know who is our friend and who is our enemy. So ultimately, we have to do ourselves each and everything which the armed forces required for the defense of the country. So, so the trust is very important, that whatever we are doing with our own resources. And if we are buying something, it's are the commercially available products, which in any case we are not dependent on a particular source, and nobody can blackmail us. So if you remember all these things, I think we'll be able to uh, better understand the psyche and do the teaching properly. If we now, as far as personal experience is concerned, there are. I just want to say about that some things about the development of the Dhanush gun. I think I'll take a couple of minutes for that. When the Dhanush gun started, it's a 45 caliber artillery gun. It was nowhere in the QRs of the Indian Army. The QRs of the Indian Army said that 52 caliber artillery gun we required. Why 52 caliber was required? Because it was the NATO standard. Why it was the NATO standard? Nobody understood. NATO standard was, it was why chosen as NATO standard? Because when the first large gun was made, that is the 45 caliber gun, it was with bigger chamber volume to give a 30 kilometer, 27, 28 kilometer range. So chamber volume went up from 19 to 23 liters. So the more propellant can be there and better pressures can be obtained. But the negative side of it was that if I adopt that particular gun, what will happen to the millions of rounds that I'm having? Thousands of crores of ammunition. Who will destroy? Who will use it? So the ballistic solution was found that, okay, with this chamber volume, if we extend the barrel into 52 caliber, in the process, make the barrel 1 meter long, then I can use the same ammunition and the same range table. So it was a matter of convenience for the European countries that they went for 52 caliber long guns. We adopted it as a fashion because it gave us 2 kilometers extra, without realizing that how difficult it is 52 caliber long gun to take it to the northeast, to take it to the uh, I'll not say Darjeeling, but say Shillong and other areas, or take it to Sikkim. So we kept on arguing. We developed a 45 caliber gun with lots of indigenization before systems were developed indigenously. The complete hydraulics, the complete automation was done by Indian companies. Some of them was done by ordnance factories, some by the other Indian companies. But we did the automation, and five. We kept explaining army five for more than 5 to 6 years. And ultimately, they agreed because people realized that 52 caliber, okay, it's not coming. And then there was a global experience also that it is not possible to produce 52 caliber long guns at the numbers which the army required in hundreds and hundreds. And ultimately, Army agreed for 45 caliber long guns. That was the Dhanush, and we produce that, and ordnance factories are supplying. Although DRDO went for attack because the 52 caliber fad was still there and attacks was developed. But I have my own doubts whether attacks can really go to the hilly mountainous areas where we have to fight the real battle. Our real enemy is on the northern frontier, not on the western frontier. So the point is that if you have to, of course, it was a big system, so it took long time. But ultimately, we were able to persuade army because we could demonstrate to them that there is a better solution. But that takes a lot of time. As a startup, you may find that difficult because what are the views of the customer are there. But definitely, if you are persistent, if you are having the right approach, and if you are having empathy for their concerns, I think you can definitely succeed. This is what I have to say, and then I'm open to all questions, please.
Thank you, sir. So we have two questions to begin with. What is the most effective way to identify and understand the performance expectation of defense users? How can we objectively demonstrate, just a second, that our product outperforms existing one?
You see, if this, of course, you will know they will write it on papers. First thing is that they will write on the paper what do they want. Their requirement would be in terms of reliability, mean time between failure, or whatsoever are the parameters they have given. The question is, how do you test it? Because if they are asking you to develop it, that means they must have given some QRs. And those QRs are the actual thing. What are the existing equipment with the army against which they are asking? We may not be able to know what is their performance. But the QRs would be mentioning everything, that this is the particular thing they require. And while designing, we have to test that as per the specifications, and to what extent we can test as per the specifications is the real challenge. One is that they are military standards against which we can say that will tell us about the ruggedness, about the uh, ruggedness and the other conditions, environmental conditions test which we do, or the performance test we have to do. That is the starting point. That our own testing in laboratory at least should be meeting their requirement. Then only the user will have a look at it, and then he will try to use it in the way he uses. And being a new product, he will be tending to misuse it, to see whether how much misuse it can be tolerated. This point, of course, I did not mention in my main speech, but this is what is actually done. They see how much it can be misused. That is also one of the part of testing. So best thing is you take their QR as the standard. We do not know what is they are having, and one thing more I can say, that if they are going to ask for something extra from 30% reliability, they want of the existing product, they want 75% reliability from you for a particular feature. They may ultimately be satisfied with the 60-65% if nobody is able to give them. But the proper thing is that I cannot know, you cannot know that what is the performance of the existing equipment. So best is go by their QR and try to achieve that performance level.
Okay. Next question is, to develop a 100% indigenous prototype, it requires lakhs of rupees of funds because fabrication in India is very expensive. Basic tech is expensive. Reliance on China for sensors and processors is almost inevitable. How, as inventors, shall we tackle this?
You see, I can tell you one thing, that it's better not to use Chinese components, because now I understand, I read in the paper also that there is a special screening which is being done. So it's a red line for the armed forces if they are able to find a Chinese component not made in China but root, routed through some other countries coming, say from Turkey or here and there. Please, it is very difficult that you will not be caught. It's difficult to imagine, because if the survey is so difficult.
Mm.
Only solution I can think is that try to secure better funding. Don't go, if you see, the question is, the constraint for you is the constraint for everyone. If Chinese component you cannot use, the other person also cannot use. So it becomes a level playing field to that extent. Indian Army doesn't mind paying 10% extra for not made in China components. There's no such constraint for the user. Don't think that my aim is to try to give them the cheapest product. No, that is not the issue with the army. They are not looking for the cheapest product. They are looking for the most reliable product, and reliability means reliability of the supply chain. If we are giving them drones left and right having Chinese component, then they are already aware where my drone is when it is going to fly. So what's the point in giving that drone? If it has got such embedded features, which they will be having definitely without fail, then what's the point in having it? In fact, it's acting like a mole. So if it is, we are not able to develop that, of course, that's the problem as of now. But source it from other countries, and if it is the question of funding, then try to arrange funds. There are people who can arrange funds for you rather than going for Chinese. Because one more thing I want to tell you, and then don't be too much obsessed with the L1 feature. Don't be too much obsessed with the L1 feature. That I don't think, when the constraint is that Chinese set of components, so it will be there with everyone. Try to be meeting their expectations as far as reliability, ruggedness, and performance. That should be your primary objective while designing, not being the L1 vendor.
Okay. So, in continuation to this discussion only, there are two questions. What are the information that should be included in documentation of a product? Please suggest important points that we should note. And the second is, before pitching to defense stakeholders, what are the practical ways for a startup to validate its solution that aligns with actual user requirements?
Okay. Just let me. I had some notes on the documentation. Just please wait for a
Sure.
minute. You see, you mentioned about the documentation aspect of that. The documents, basically, they want the first thing is that once you particular do the design, how much you have tested, and you have tested according to which specifications, and what have been the results. Have you tested your product according to the mill standards? Do you have the mill standards, or you have access to them? Because that's also a problem, and mill standards are very expensive to get. So that is one part of it, that whether you have tested the particular things according to military standards or not. In fact, one of the things I can suggest that the innovation center at IIT Kanpur, if you are handling with lot of defense, you can have some access to their library of mail standards, because it's a pretty expensive thing. So you can have access to the library of mail standards where the startup can approach you and have a look at those mail standards. The documentation they will require is, of course, which will satisfy them. One is the how much testing you have done according, number one, according to different mill standards, or if not mill standards, then the defense standards which are issued by the Directorate of Standardization in India. That is one. But that is mill standards will definitely use it, help it. Mostly they are uniform, and different armed forces follow because they are the European NATO standards, military standards. That is one very important part. Second is giving the design details, not in terms of design, in terms of sketch, documentation, how to use the product, how to use it safely, how to pack it, this particular thing. You can also share that if this is not done, what type of mistakes can happen, what type of malperformance can happen, your experience about this. That's very important, because we do not know why the manufacturer is asking me to do this only like this way, do this only like this way. If you mention that ki, okay, if this happens, then this is likely to malfunction, malperform packaging. But and you can share the if you have done the practical trials, you can definitely share those results as part of the documentation. So the system level and the equipment level, or the component level, at all level, whatever trials you have done, whatever have been, or whether you have faced any failures, you can mention them, how you overcame those failures, because these documents are confidential, they will not go anywhere. But if you are transparent about them, it will give them a better idea of your capability and how you have solved it.
Okay.
Okay, second question was, you had one more question.
Yes. It says, before pitching to defense stakeholders, what are the practical ways for a solution startup to validate that its solution aligns with actual user requirements?
Is You see, many things the user will test, you will not be able to test. He will be seeing the ruggedness, he will see how it is easy to use, how there are certain things which are qualitative, which is very difficult for you to know it beforehand. But I can only say that the QRs, what they have mentioned, to what extent you are able to test yourself. Try to test each and everything according to the QR which they have given. Whether you have equipment of your own, it is difficult to have equipment of your own for all those things. But approaching the different labs or something, then or some places, then you can be and be transparent about those results. And one more thing I'll repeat again. Whenever you go for the user's trial, don't try to market your product. It's a very typical thing people try to do. ये अच्छा है, ये खराब है, ये अच्छा है. You see, खराब है, अच्छा है, क्या है, that he is going to judge. And he is going to make his opinion, and that he is not going to share with you at that time. And it may happen that the person who is actually testing it may not be so academically qualified as you are. So have respect for him, have respect for his knowledge, and try to know that the real thing is, try to know what he is actually looking for in the product. That will help you much more. Whether he is interested, you have gone for a certain feature, but he is interested कि यार reliable है, टूटता तो नहीं, खराब खराब नहीं होना चाहिए यार, चलते रहना चाहिए. You understand his point. He's sitting in somewhere in, say, in the desert areas, or where he will go. I can just tell you, when I was general manager of engine factory AFD, I came to know when the army unit people used to come for repairs, they used to ask a lot about the various type of oil seals which were 100 rupees, 200 rupees and all that. तो दे यूज टू से, हमारे यहाँ लोग बोलते थे साहब 10 दे दिया, 15 दे दिया, हमने कहा 50 दे दो उसको इफ ही वांट्स, व्हाई यू आर सो मच वरीड अबाउट दैट, यू बाई एक्स्ट्रा. बिकॉज देन वन फेलो टोल्ड मी कि सर ये जैसलमेर में जब हम रहते हो ये अगर खराब हो जाती है देन somebody comes to Delhi to take this. Component value may be 200 rupees or say 2000 rupees, but the engine is not functioning because somebody has to come to Delhi and collect it. So this was an eye opener for us because we used to be so stingy on that. Point I'm making is that when you are in the user's trial or in the field, try to understand his real concern. His real concern may be that it should always function rather than giving me that 10% superior performance. Understand, concentrate on those aspects.
Okay. We'll take one last question. So this is from your experience in MOD and Ordnance Factory Board. What are the 3, 4 most important elements that a startup should highlight while pitching an innovative defense product to ensure serious consideration for trials and procurement?
You see, first and foremost thing is whether your product is going to meet their very important need. It is something which they really want, desperately want. Not easy to know because if they once they want it, then only they will come to it. But this is, if you have done something of your own, you can go. The important thing will be, number one, that it is a reliable and rugged product. That is the foremost thing in the mind of the armed forces. Unless it's a very, very technically sophisticated product, then I'm not assuming that type of thing. But mostly when it is there in the field, and it is mostly, many times it is there in the form of import substitution. Don't be focused primarily on the cost, because this is what we feel that government buys on L1 or something. Government may be buying on L1, armed forces L1 is used in a different context. If you are giving a new product for which there are no benchmarks or not that you indulge in profiteering, but try to give them a reliable product, a rugged product, and prove that how reliable it is. Either the failure rate is less, or it can handle the misuse, it can handle the mistakes while operating and still function. So I will say this is the most important thing: the ruggedness of the product, the reliability, and reliability means that the product will perform in most of the situation, and it will have a long life as compared to the other things. Of course, the performance should be superior to the existing product if they are going for a sort of upgrade or a sub-assembly. And of course, being an Indian, you can always say that it's easy to make them available at the time of need, because anything imported, a small thing may take 2 years to come. So don't buy. I'm saying is that just don't focus on the money aspect. Money is not the constraint. Money is not the constraint. It is you develop a product which is reliable, which is rugged, and which has been tested. Don't approach them with uncooked food. ओके सर ये तो कर लिया, ये हम कर लेंगे, ये हम कर लेंगे सर, ये आप देख लीजिए, ये हम कर लेंगे, वो चलता नहीं है. Go with the thing that it may not require much iteration. You have gone with a finished product with lot of efforts done. As I mentioned in the documentation, mention all the testings that you have done, all the test results, mention all the mistakes that you, mistakes, I will say the failures, I'll not say the mistakes, the failures that you suffered at different stages and how you have been able to overcome that and redesign the product choose different materials or something, whatever you have done. And that's how you have come with a new product, which you are very, very confident that it will meet the requirement. Of course, the requirement will be the final testing is always be done with the equipment. You don't have the equipment with you. But if you go with a reasonably good uh, homework done, and one of the important thing of the homework is once you are developing, try to interact with them as much as possible, not only with the officers, you will not get much opportunity, but the actual users who are there. Try to interact as much as possible with them, and that is what is the customer's voice. And then whatever they say is very, very important. Don't try to question him or belittle them about their knowledge or something. But listen very, very carefully to what they say. If there are 6 people in the group, it may happen that 2 or 3 will speak more and 2 will remain silent. Take them separately, talk to them alone. They will also give you very, very important insights, especially about how it fails and what are the shortcomings. That you must know. If the shortcoming is only that कि ये साहब आता नहीं है, तब तो indigestion problem different हो जाती है. But mostly it is that you are coming with a improved product. So the thing is that you must understand what is the reason, what is the expectation about the improved product, what is the reason for dissatisfaction with the existing product, and what are the things they have found with this product. And then you can come with a new design, new product, or something new features, superior features, and give them. I think these are the major points which you look after when you are coming as a new product or product improvement.
Okay. So thank you, sir, for such an insightful and deeply practical session. Your guidance will certainly help our innovators refine their pitch and also better navigate the defense innovation landscape. I thank everyone who joined us today. If you have any further questions, you can mail to our team. You can email me. We are always available. We'll try and get you answers for those questions. And so keep learning, keep building, and keep innovating. Thank you once again to everyone. Thank you, Saurabh sir, for giving your precious time today.
Okay. Thank you,
Thank you.
Vatsala, and my thanks convey my gratitude to all your audience.
Mhm.
I hope that it would have added something to their thought process.
Certainly. I am getting questions from a few of them for your email ID. Please connect with Mr. Vikash Prakash from our team. We will share sir's email ID with you all.
Yeah. Most welcome, most welcome. And you can ask. There's no such constraint. I am a free person and having plenty of time. So there I can perhaps think over it and give you a more detailed reply. Here there is a time constraint, and sometimes it's in such type of sessions you are a batsman facing a
Yes.
deadly pace attack. Sometimes you may get a googly, sometimes you may get a bouncer. So of course the questions were not so difficult, but when I'm replying in writing, there may be a reply will be more structured and better.
Sure. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone.
Thank you. Namaskar. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thanks,
you. Thank you.
Raj.